Hi, I'm Vivek Chatterjee. I'm an IT professional. I have over 16 plus years of experience in IT infrastructure support. I'm working in one of the largest organizations. So today I'll be discussing about the buzzword DevOps. What is DevOps? How it's emerged? What is the requirements? And what it actually does. So recently I have published a few of the articles in LinkedIn which covers the concepts of DevOps, how it's a requirement. All these things were discussed. So let's go through those two documents. This is the first one, and the headline of the article is Legacy System Administration to Cloud-Enabled DevOps Transformation Journey, Part 1. So why I have mentioned this specific headline is that legacy system administration means the current environment, the older kind of setup, the physical setup that we have, that we are supporting till now. So that's a data center based environment. So we are supporting our clients' infrastructure from remote delivery centers located around the world. So in our data centers, we have physical setup, that is the physical servers, and also virtual servers, which is running over the VMware infrastructure. So in our current environment, we are providing support in a traditional way. The servers are connected with the traditional mode of networking, and over which the virtualization is deployed, and over virtualization we have the operating systems running. So my core skill is Linux, so I am supporting the Linux infrastructure of my organization, of my clients infrastructure. So I am leading the team. At the same time, I also need to look into the integration of the Linux with other components. The applications, I have to support the applications running over there. So though there are other teams who they are managing the application, so we have to provide infrastructure support to the customers environments. So what is the requirement of now? The question is why all of a sudden we need the DevOps? What is the requirement of DevOps and why we need it, and from where it emerged? So let's take if you go through this document, I have explained everything, like what is the requirement of DevOps and what it does. So if you go to the definition of DevOps is the combination of cultural philosophies, practices, and tools that increases an organization's ability to deliver applications and services at high velocity, evolving and improving products at a faster pace than organizations using traditional software development and infrastructure management processes. The speed enables organizations to better serve their customers and compete effectively in the market. So what does that mean? So if you go down here, I have explained how DevOps works. Under the DevOps model, development and operation teams are no longer siloed. That is, in the traditional model that we are working on, or we were working on, and still it's the traditional model is still there. So in this model, each team worked in its own silos. Like the Linux team, the operating system team works in its own environment. The network team, it works in its own environment. The VMware works in its own. The development works in its own setup. So they are not integrated and they are not collaborative. So for deployment of any component, any services, any solution, so it takes lots of time because there is no integration is there. There would be a project manager involved. The project manager gathers information from the various teams, then the project manager integrates all the team, brings on the team in a call, then we discuss, then the plan is as a plan is formulated, and most of the plans are also in team specific. So that's a slower process. That is the reason that this DevOps integrates all the teams. The teams has to work together in a collaborative approach, so that there would be lots of sharing of information happening automatically. So this is the fundamental concept of DevOps. And regarding the cloud, nowadays every cloud organization is moving towards cloud, and in the cloud there is no separation of like the responsibilities, like there is no separate backup team, there is no separate operating system team, there is no network team. Every team has to do the work. Every team member should know all the components of the cloud and how it integrates. So DevOps is best suited in the cloud environment rather than in the traditional environments. So there is a huge change happening in the in the IT industry, like due to the emergence of newer technologies. The older technologies and the skills that we are working on would become phased out, and that has already started, and the transformation already started. So if we are not gathering newer skills or transform ourselves to be suitable for the new environment, the cloud-based DevOps environment, we would not be able to survive. That is the reason we need to transform ourselves. So that is what I discussed in this document, that if you go there, what are the skills? There are various technical skills required. Technical skills are required. So DevOps is not actually about technical skills, it's a cultural difference, because the mode of the method we are following for the solution delivery is moving to an integrated model. So there would be a lots of cultural change, mindset change required. So you need to change your mind to work in an integrated environment in a collaborative manner. So technical skills are the facilitators that is required. So almost all the components that we are using are still going to work, like the major components like operating system. You should know the operating system details. You should know the backup and recovery solutions. You should know the security components. You should know the virtualization. Over that, since the system administrators are not that much good in scripting and programming, though we are using shell scripting, but in the DevOps environment, the most focus is for automation. The automation is highly necessary for the speedy operation and delivery of solutions. So scripting and automation is required, and you need to learn various tools like Ansible for automated configuration management. You need to know tools like Terraform for deployment of servers and components, IT components. Like you need to let's take an example, like you need to deploy 100 servers over a virtualized environment, VMware environment, or a cloud, or a cloud over cloud. So how would you do that? So if you do it manually, it takes a lot of time and effort. So in order to reduce that, we are supposed to use Terraform. Terraform is one of the best tool in the industry for deployments. So we have to configure everything in a code, a script. So Terraform is using a HashiCorp language. So it's a product of HashiCorp Incorporation. So that's once we execute that script, it connects to various infrastructure environment endpoints, like the VMware for traditional mode, or the clouds, various clouds like AWS. It provides facility for all the cloud service providers, so it connects with them and deploy the configuration end to end. So after the deployment done, the post deployment configuration can be done using Ansible. So that is the reason we need to learn Ansible. Public clouds, obviously, I am not required to say that public cloud everybody has to learn. So it's a norm nowadays. So AWS, Azure, or GCP. Start with AWS, then go for Azure or GCP. Once you know one cloud environment, almost the components are same. Only the interface might be different, so that you can easily grasp. Knowledge of Linux is highly required, because the Linux is the widely used operating system used in the DevOps environment. Computer networking, I am not required to say that computer networking is one of the most important concept that one need to learn. Even in the current setup as well, you should know, and the cloud enabled setup you have to know in a much better way if you need to increase your skills, because you need to set up the virtualized network over the cloud yourself. Like your instances should communicate with the instances, your instances should communicate with the services has to communicate between each other, and then you have to configure site-to-site VPN for connecting your on-premises data center with the cloud environment. And then also you need to configure direct connect between two data centers, or between the cloud to on-premises and on-premises to cloud. You need to configure load balancers, you need to configure application servers, you need to configure databases. So all whatever you do in the cloud-based environment, that needs not only cloud-based, in the traditional environment as well, that works over computer networking. So that's the fundamental thing you should know. Then you should learn about the continuous integration and continuous deployment, CICD pipeline. So what is that? So if you go up, this is the framework. This is the framework for DevOps, where the planning. This is the planning phase. Once the planning is done, for the software, it's actually a software development framework. So where the planning is done, after that, the build team starts building the codes. And they starts coding. Then when the codes are ready, so they are put in a GitHub repository. That is the version control tool. So this is a GitHub. This one section 9 covers this. So once this code is pushed to Git, the Jenkins is the tool that is used for continuous integration. Continuous integration is used. This is a tool widely used. The Jenkins pull that code from the repository and then triggers build. Then once the build is done, then it's tested, then it's released. If there is any problem, and also then after release there is a monitoring. So monitoring is done using Grafana, Prometheus, ELK. These are the various tools available in the market, the next generation tools. So that you need to learn. So along with the technical skills, you need to brush up your interpersonal skills and mindset. You need to restructure your mindset. You should be open for continuous learning. You should have knowledge of the software development life cycle, because you need to work with the developers. You should know your infrastructure in a better way. You should have the ownership capability, like you need to take ownership. You should not say that's not my job. Being in a DevOps culture, everything falls under your responsibility. Start with why. You need to learn how to ask questions for everything. So whenever you plan, you need to gather information. When you need to do any task, you should get the information. You are troubleshooting something, you need to ask questions to various teams. You have to ask questions to yourself as well for troubleshooting. This is because why. The 5 why is the method used by the organizations for root cause analysis. Then cost optimization is one of the major factors that the companies are moving towards cloud, because they want to optimize costs. In a traditional environment, you need to maintain everything yourself. That increases the cost. So instead, in cloud, you need to buy services, which is required in a pay as you buy model. Only those components that you need to buy. Those components you do not need, you are not required to buy. Even there is a flexibility that is called elasticity, like you can reduce the infrastructure components, you can increase it and reduce it, you can deploy. So scale up, that is called scale up, and scale out and scale in. So scale up and scale down, scale out and scale in. So horizontal scaling, vertical scaling is supported in cloud. That's not possible in the traditional environment. Even if it's possible, that involves a huge amount of effort from various teams. So your design and solution should be simplistic. So whatever you are going to design and deploy, it should be simplistic. so to reduce any kind of confusion. Then you should have the open mindset, like let's take an example, like being a Linux professional. I love Linux because I'm working on Linux for quite a long time, but it does not mean that Linux work of its own. It has to work with other technologies, or you can say that it has to coexist with other components of the infrastructure architecture. Hence, along with my core Linux skills, I have to acquire other relevant skills like computer networking, some level of scripting, coding, knowledge of databases, load balancers, familiarity with other operating systems like Windows, directory services, identity and authentication services for authentication and authorization. Hence, one should keep his mind open to grab those other skills. You are not required to be an expert in all of them. However, you should have broad overview about the tools and technologies used in the industry. So, this is the end of the first article. If you go to the second article, where I started with the emergence of DevOps, how it's emerged. The concept of DevOps emerged out of a discussion between Andrew Clay and Patrick DeBois in 2008. They were concerned about the drawbacks of Agile and wanted to come up with something better. The idea slowly began to spread, and after the DevOps Days, it's an event held in Belgium in 2009, it became quite a buzzword. What is best about DevOps is that there is more to it than it seems. It's not just an attempt at efficiency, it's a step toward cultural change. So we can call it a blend of Agile philosophy with lean thinking. DevOps unites the efforts of every team involved in the project, and that too with tighter integration. This cross-department integration between developers, QA engineers, and system admins is more amazing than it sounds. The benefits of DevOps: developers can now take part in deployment, system administrators can write the script, QA engineers can know how to figure out issues using alternate ways other than testing. Process can be automated and no one has to wait, as they can now work more closely and come up with quicker and better solutions. Better communication and understanding would also help teams to recognize the priorities of each other. And all of these benefits would mean skyrocketing productivity and swift delivery. Now, what is Agile methodology? This is the methodology used before DevOps, so you can go through it, and it's not a very efficient one, so that's the reason DevOps came. So before Agile, there was another model, that is waterfall model. It's a slow process. It's a very old slow process that's phased out already. Now this is the model, that's the framework that I designed for myself for my DevOps journey, or you can say my skill upgradation journey. So here level 1 is the stage where you are currently. So you are in the traditional mode of environment, you are working in traditional environments. Then level 2 you need to start learning newer skills, both technical and non-technical skills. And at level 3 you need to refresh existing skills, like whatever you know already, you need to go more deeper into it and increase your knowledge on it, like computer networking is one of them, virtualization, operating system, and other skills. Then level 4, you need to integrate the old skills with the new skill. It's not that like the older skills, every type of older skills are phasing out. It's not like that. Operating system is going to stay, computer networking going to stay. Yes, there is an additional layer added on them, so some modern way of maintaining them has come up already, so that you need to learn. And the level 5 is the implementation. Whatever you learned so far, you need to implement it in your solution, in your environment, wherever possible. Then level 6, now you are more empowered, so the journey does not end here. So here, at this stage you are in a better shape than before. So now you need to plan for further upgradation. Okay, so here and then I have mentioned these levels one by one, and I tried to, this is actually a repetition, these are actually skills of the repetition from the first article. So here in this article I tried to map the skills as per the levels. So this same thing, you can go through it. There are some new concepts added, like VXLAN is one of them. So virtually extendable locality network, that is the, you can say that is the virtual, that is the software defined network, that's called software defined network, that's used in cloud. And even the advanced kind of data center, that is the software defined data center, we can say in the VMware environment also it can be done. So the same thing is used in the cloud as well. More information about this you can get to this. If you click on this, you will get to the page that will give you more information about this VXLAN. Then the other things are the same. Then containerization, knowledge on containerization and container orchestration platform like Docker and Kubernetes, OpenShift is highly essential and recommended. Now, what is Docker and what is Kubernetes and what is OpenShift? So what is containerization? So containerization is a new kind of technology that is used. It's not actually not a new kind of, it's used for quite a couple of years. So containerization is the process of splitting up applications into smaller pieces and then integrate it in a container. That container runs on the operating system over the container orchestration platform, over the container runtime environment like Docker. Docker is the container runtime environment. So you can say that the containers are a small stripped down version of a virtualization. So it does not have its own complete operating system, but it does have the processes and the tools, processes, libraries that is required to run a particular application. So this is a requirement because most of the application software architecture is now moving from monolithic to microservices, that is modular architecture. So modular architecture, like let's take an example of a 2-tier or 3-tier architecture where we have the front tier, the middle tier, and the final last tier. The third tier is the database tier. So each tier the applications running over each tier can be broken down into smaller pieces and then can be accommodated inside a container, and these containers can run over multiple servers. They communicate with each other using overlay network. So overlay network is similar to like VXLAN. So this makes it much flexible for management. So if there are too many Docker containers out there, it's very difficult to manage. So that is the reason we need other kind of tools like container orchestration platform like Kubernetes. So Kubernetes is actually helps in managing the containers. At the same time, the OpenShift is actually Kubernetes is open source, and OpenShift is the proprietary implementation of open source Kubernetes by Red Hat. So this I have discussed all these levels here. So up to level 3 I have discussed here. Level the upcoming articles I will be discussing about level 4, level 5 and level 6, and then we'll start with covering the specific skills. So I will be releasing articles and videos that covers the specific skills that we have discussed. So I hope you enjoyed the video as well as these articles. I will be providing the link to these articles in the description of this video. I will also be starting a YouTube channel, so where I will be posting more videos, and also I will start a blog where I will be posting more articles, technical articles that will help you guys in your transformation journey. Thank you.